Hello everyone, it's JD here with your weekly update, and I'm really pleased to share that our annual story writing competition award ceremony is nearly here. It takes place on Friday the 12th of December and it's at the Riverside Centre. Doors open at 6:30 and it's shaping up to be a fantastic evening celebrating creativity and the incredible talent we have across the Isle of Wight. We've got entertainment throughout the night, including performances from Huxley the Magician and the brilliant singing duo Just Us. Also, the wonderful Maurice Kachuk, who will be comparing the evening with us. And there's going to be refreshments, a bar, stalls, and a raffle with some really awesome prizes. So definitely something for everyone. Don't miss out. I really hope to see you all there. As for me, I'm currently trying to get everything wrapped up and finished for the week so that I can enjoy some awesome festive time with some of our members for our annual Christmas meal at the Isle of Wight College. It's always so nice to be able to down tools for a moment and take some time to spend with our members and just enjoy, make some memories and share these great experiences. Take care everyone and look forward to meeting with you all again very soon.
Here is this week's charity news, 28th of November 2025. Our Living Well with Sight Loss information session is on Monday the 1st of December at Millbrook House at 10 a.m. This is open to anyone including family and carers who would wish to find out about sight loss and what support is available. Please call the office to book a space.
Swimming at Medina is on Monday between 1:15 p.m. and 2 p.m. We have the whole pool, so whether you wish to swim lanes or just have gentle exercise in the pool, you will be made very welcome. The cost is £6 and transport is available, although limited. All members are very welcome to join.
Coffee and chat is on Wednesday starting at 10 a.m. until 11:30 a.m. The cost is £2 to include drinks and cake. Staff are on hand to help with any queries and to demonstrate equipment. This week we will be joined by Laura and other staff from the eye department at St Mary's.
Mix and Mingle is on Thursday at Millbrook House. We have a waiting list for this group, but if you are interested, please call the office to put your name down.
Our monthly book group will be meeting at Newport Library on Thursday at 2 p.m. This group is free to join, so if you like listening to books, please call the office for more information.
The November Stride will be on Friday. If you like more details, please call the office.
We will be at the Newport Minster on December the 6th with a festive craft stall. The fair runs between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m, so come along and buy some lovely goodies on offer.
Our busy knitters have been delivering their wonderful Christmas novelties to us, and we will be selling them across the island and at Millbrook House from the 1st December. This year we have a variety of goodies, all looking wonderful and making ideal Christmas presents.
Our Christmas tree is once again displayed in the Isle of Wight Pearl. This year our tree looks magnificent with all our decorated spectacles on it. Please pop along and have a look and perhaps vote for your favourite tree.
Our story writing awards evening is on the 12th of December at the Riverside Centre, Newport. There will be entertainment, raffle and tombola, and winning stories will be announced. The evening starts at 7 p.m. with door opening at 6:30 p.m. The evening is free, so come along and enjoy a festive night.
Our Christmas cards are also available, selling fast this year with several designs already being sold out. There are only £3.50 for packs of 10, so once again please call the office if you wish to order.
Our annual Christmas raffle is underway. And we thank everyone who have already returned their raffle tickets. Prizes are arriving at Millbrook House, but we are always grateful for any prizes anyone wishes to donate. If you would also like more tickets, please do not hesitate to call the office and we can send more books out in the post. The draw takes place on the 10th of December during our festive morning. During the morning, we will be holding our silent auction. We have 3 lots for auction: a weekend break to Warner's, Norton Grange for 2 people, 20 flyer tickets from Hover Travel, and a return ferry ticket from Red Funnel for a car and up to 7 passengers. If you would like to place a bid for any of the lots, but unable to come into Millbrook House, please call the office and we can put your name and bid on a paper slip.
We are once again running a Warner's break in April next year, as advertised in the newsletter. So if you are interested in joining us, please call the office and put your name down. If you would like to discuss it further, please call and speak to Susan.
This is Alison, reading an article from the Island Echo entitled Green Light for Red Funnel's Plans to Transform East Cowes Terminal. The Isle of Wight Council has approved Red Funnel's plans to redevelop its East Cowes Terminal, paving the way for a vibrant new gateway that will benefit residents, visitors and businesses alike across the island. Plans, which build on the scheme that was previously consented in 2017, will see Red Funnel's 3 key sites in East Cowes transformed, creating a modern, more efficient and welcoming port that reflects the island's character and supports its longer-term economic growth. Under the now approved scheme, East Cowes will see an enhanced terminal building designed to offer a smoother, quicker travel experience. Attractive landscaping and improved pedestrian access will make the waterfront a pleasant place for the community to enjoy. A new marshalling yard with capacity for over 350 vehicles will reduce congestion on local roads, while automated check-in and improved traffic flow in the port will make journeys easier and faster. Phoenix Yard will be redesigned for mixed-use development, including a potential hotel and shops, creating opportunities for tourism and local employment. Enhanced connectivity, including new bus laybys and better links to the town centre, is also set to make East Cowes more accessible for everyone. Fran Collins, CEO of Red Funnel, has said, "We are delighted that members have resolved to approve our planning application, and this is a big milestone for both Red Funnel and East Cowes. Our plans will create spaces that feel welcoming for everyone, make our services more resilient and ease local congestion. These proposals have been shaped by local feedback and voices, and we will continue to work closely with the community throughout this project. For over 164 years, we've provided a lifeline service to the Isle of Wight. Today, we're investing in a more resilient and cleaner future, providing a port that meets the needs of the community and supports the island's growth for decades to come. This redevelopment is the foundation of a new era of reliable, sustainable travel and a fleet designed to serve the Isle of Wight's needs, with resilience and care at its heart. Red Funnel will now progress with detailed design work and begin preparations for tender and construction. Further updates on timelines and progress will be shared in the coming months."
Article from the Island Echo, read by Howard, is concerned with public toilets in Sundown. Public toilets in Sundown will be free to use on a trial basis throughout 2026, following a decision made by Sundown Town Council. The move follows a successful trial during the 2025 Carnival and Regatta events, which saw fewer issues reported, according to Mayor Alex Lightfoot. The decision was taken at the town's full council meeting on Monday, 18th of November. Toilet opening hours have been proposed as 0700 to 2100 during the summer months and 0700 to 1900 in winter as part of the 2026 budget planning. The council also approved the recruitment of a part-time fundraiser to work 22 hours per week with a remit to secure grant funding for both council-led initiatives and wider community group projects. The cost, capped at 26,780, will be covered using an underspend from the current staffing budget. In addition, over £30,000 of funding was agreed to support the development of the proposed International School of Rewilding in Sundown, a project already receiving backing from the Wild Heart Trust. This funding will be drawn equally from the town improvement budget and the Bay Place Plan budget, which is supported by 4 local authorities. A proposal by Councillor Gary Young to install a flagpole at the Broadway Centre was put to a vote but was not carried.
Hello, this is an article read by Sue. Island visitor numbers dip, but longer stays offer summer silver lining. New figures reveal a mixed season for the Isle of Wight tourism, with total visitor numbers down, but holidaymakers choosing to stay slightly longer. The latest Isle of Wight passenger survey, covering the 1st of July to the 30th of September 2025, shows total visitors fell by 3.7% compared to the same period last year. There were, however, some brighter notes. Overnight holiday visits inched up by 0.2%, while commercial bed nights rose by 2%. The average stay also lengthened from 4.6 to 4.9 nights, suggesting those who did visit made the most of their time on the island. The biggest drop came from day trippers, with leisure day visits falling by 12.4% year on year. Across the summer, 62% of overnight cross-Solent trips were for holidays and leisure, along with 63% of all day trips. Despite fewer visitors overall, spending held steady. Q3 visitor expenditure is estimated at £115 million, unchanged from 2024. Looking at the year to date, January to September 2025, total visitor numbers are down by 4.6% compared to the same period last year. Half of all the day trips so far have been for leisure, while 59% of overnight visits were holiday-related. The island's performance reflects wider national trends. Visit England most recent figures, April to June, show an 18% national decline in domestic overnight tourism and a 1% drop in day visits. Q3 national data is due mid-December. Visit England's domestic sentiment tracker also hints at why visitors may be holding back. The proportion of UK adults who feel the worst is yet to come in the cost of living crisis has risen from 51% to 55% in the past month, and there's been a 6% decrease in those planning UK day trips or short breaks. The island's tourism sector will now be looking ahead to the Christmas season and next spring to see whether confidence returns.
This is Alison, reading an article from Isle of Wight Radio entitled Joe Robertson Pushes for Ferry Regulation as Cross-Party Support Builds. East Wight MP Joe Robertson has received backing from the Conservative opposition for his call to regulate Isle of Wight ferry services amid concerns over high fares and frequent cancellations. Speaking in the House of Commons, Shadow Communities Minister Paul Holmes criticised ticket prices as extortionately high and said Conservative MPs would support Robertson's amendment to the English Devolution Bill. The proposal would give the future Mayor of Hampshire and the Isle of Wight powers over ferry pricing and timetabling. Although the amendment did not pass without government backing, Maritime Minister Keir Mather acknowledged that ferry affordability and reliability remain pressing issues. He said urgent action is needed and highlighted plans to establish a cross-Solent transport chair to gather accurate data and assess solutions. Robertson welcomed the minister's comments, saying it marked a significant step forward in tackling the long-standing problems faced by islanders, including impacts on local jobs and the economy. He added that further discussions with the Department for Transport are planned before Christmas. Both Isle of Wight MPs, Robertson and Richard Quigley, have been campaigning for closer oversight of ferry services, citing the need for a dependable, affordable service that meets the needs of residents and supports the island's economy.
Article from Isle of Wight Radio, read by Howard, is concerned with the shake-up of councils across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. Islanders are being urged to give their views on sweeping changes that could reshape how local services are run across Hampshire and the Isle of Wight. A government consultation is now open on several competing plans to reorganise local government, a move that could see district and county councils scrapped in favour of larger unitary authorities. Ministers say the aim is to simplify services and cut costs. 4 different proposals are on the table, each suggesting new council boundaries and structures. All include a standalone Isle of Wight unitary authority, while the number and layout of councils on the mainland varies between 4 and 5. Different groups of councils have submitted their preferred models, each claiming theirs would save the most money, protect local services, and better reflect how communities work together. The public consultation runs until 11th of January, and residents are invited to share their views online. You can take part in the consultation at www.consult.communities.gov.uk.
Good morning. This is an article read by Sue. Pioneering Police AI Assistant, Bobby, launched to handle non-emergency questions. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary and Thames Valley Police have become the first forces in the country to trial a pioneering new way to contact them, an AI assistant called Bobby. In the groundbreaking trial, Bobby, the AI virtual assistant, has been created to answer frequently asked non-emergency questions that come into the police. Bobby will interact with you like a human, but is entirely automated. This is the first time this technology has been used in policing in the UK and offers an additional service. Alongside online forms, telephone lines and front counters for those who prefer to use a virtual assistant to ask questions and seek help or advice. You cannot use the technology to report a crime or as an alternative to the emergency line. Bobby has been tested by over 200 people during its development, including by representatives from victim care supports and independent scrutiny panel members. Bobby uses closed source information to provide advice or point you in the right direction for a variety of police-related topics. Closed source means that all the information Bobby uses has been provided by Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary and Thames Valley Police. The information used by the AI virtual assistant to make suggestions and recommendations is the same information referenced by call handlers and digital desk operators to support them in answering these questions. Any data you share during your chat will remain confidential and will not be used outside of the two forces. If Bobby is unable to answer your question, or if you specify that you want to speak to a person, your chat will be directed to a digital desk operator who are all real people. The digital desk operators work 24/7 and receive all crime reports submitted online, support with monitoring social media accounts, and will now pick up any chats that cannot be answered via Bobby. Chief Superintendent Simon Dodds, Head of Contact Management for both forces, has said, "This is a really exciting time for us as we trial this technology in policing. Locally and nationally, contact into the police increases year on year, online and over the phone, and it is important that the valuable skill set of our call handlers and digital desk operators is spent on emergencies and complex sensitive issues. Empathy, common sense, and that intangible gut instinct are some of the many human skills that need to guide our interactions with the public, particularly in their time of need. By providing quick responses to commonly asked non-emergency questions, Bobby will enhance our service to our communities, ensuring that every member of the public can get the help they need whenever they need it. Bobby will also remain as a work in progress, so whilst we are launching the technology today after an intense building and testing period, our experienced staff will continue to train it to fix any bugs, remain up to date with legislation and policies, and evolve the technology in line with needs of our communities."
Good morning. My name is Gerard.
And my name is Mary.
Here are the news. 200,000 pounds fine for company after man loses foot. One of the worst times in our 53 years firm admits deep remorse. A leading island manufacturer has been fined £200,000 after a worker lost a foot following a factory incident. A.J. Wells and Son, based in Bishop's Way, Newport, admitted failing to ensure staff safety following an incident on the 15th of August 2023, in which Callum Baker suffered the catastrophic injury while moving metal sheets. 4 of the company's directors appeared at the Isle of Wight Magistrates Court on Tuesday. The company admitted being an employer that failed to ensure the health, safety, and welfare at work of all its employees, and in particular, Mr. Baker. Mr. Baker had been pulling a trolley laden with metal sheets when it caught an obstruction, causing the load to topple onto him. He suffered a dislocated knee and such severe damage to his left foot that it had to be amputated. Prosecutor Ashraf Khan for the Health and Safety Executive, HSE, said the accident caused serious physical and permanent harm and exposed systematic failings. These included inadequate work equipment, the trolley was missing handles and had casters difficult to control, as well as a lack of safety routes, risk assessments, and task-specific training. The HSE also noted A.J. Wells needed improvements in noise surveillance, machinery guarding, ventilation systems, and monitoring of degreasing processes after an incident there in November 2021. A trolley's load toppled onto James Evans, but it was concluded it had been improperly stacked. One operator told investigators that staff had continued using trolleys in the same way since their introduction in 2019.
Mr. Khan argued the company had provided no guidelines on stacking limits. securing loads, or when 2 people were needed for a task. There was also no supervisory intervention. Defending solicitor Ed Harrington said AJ Wells had cooperated fully with the HSE and taken effective remedial action since the accident. He stressed Mr. Baker, who remains an employee at the company, was blameless. AJ Wells was an annual turner of 17.77 million, was fined 200,000, ordered to pay £9,056 costs and a £2,000 surcharge. Mr. Baker was compensated for his injuries separate to the proceedings. AJ Wells, founded in 1972, is privately owned and family run, specialising in the manufacture and installation of signage, cladding and vitreous enamel products. The company issued a statement. We, the directors and shareholders, wish to express our deepest remorse for the injury sustained by one of our employees. This incident has saddened and shaken us and has been one of the worst times in our 53 years of business. We have always felt passionately about manufacturing on the Isle of Wight and providing meaningful local employment. With that, we take seriously the need to value, care for and to protect our staff. This sense of responsibility is deeply rooted in our Christian faith. That we fell short is something we sincerely regret and has acted to further reinforce our commitment to our employees' well-being. This employee continues to remain a valued member of our team and is being supported as he makes a phased return to work.
Postal voters are warned to reapply under the new law. Around 16,000 island postal voters are being warned they could lose their right to vote by post unless they reapply under a change in national elections rules. The Elections Act of 2022 now requires all postal votes to be renewed every 3 years. Anyone who made a postal vote application before January 30 last year must submit a fresh application by the 31st of January 2026. If they do not, their postal vote will be cancelled, meaning they will have to vote in person until a new application is approved or a proxy vote is appointed. The Isle of Wight Council Electoral Services team will be contacting everyone affected in the coming weeks. Those for whom the Council holds an email address will receive an initial message from the Electoral Services at isleofwight.gov.uk, while others will be sent a letter explaining how to reapply. The Council is urging people to complete the process now to avoid delays ahead of next year's elections and to reduce the cost of issuing reminder notices. The quickest way to reapply is through the gov.uk website. Applicants must provide their date of birth, national insurance number, and upload a photo or scan of their handwritten signature in black ink on plain white paper. Identities are verified against the Department for Work and Pensions records, with further evidence required if checks fail. The next scheduled elections on the island are in May 2026, though voters are advised to reapply early in case of an unscheduled poll.
NHS neglect was a factor in Man's death. An inquest has concluded that the death of an 85-year-old man was contributed to by NHS neglect following a series of hospital errors that left a cancer diagnosis undetected for more than 2 years. William Charles Warmby, known as Bill, died at St Mary's Hospital on June the 30th, 2019. His inquest was held at the Isle of Wight Coroner's Court on November the 18th, more than 6 years after his death. A post-mortem found the cause of death to be acute or chronic kidney injury, with a large tumour discovered in Mr. Warmby's bladder. Coroner Caroline Sunneray said that she was initially unaware of any concerns surrounding the death and had closed the case. However, after being notified of an NHS serious incident investigation into fallings in Mr. Warmby's care, she reopened the inquest at the end of 2019. According to a statement from Mr. Warmby's GP, he had been wrongly diagnosed, in his opinion, with bladder cancer in 2008. The GP noted that a bladder cancer on April the 12th, 2017, revealed abnormalities that were never shared with primary care or investigated further. In 2017, Mr. Warmby was under the care of the ENT, ear, nose and throat consultant, Meher Alamani, at St Mary's Hospital after being referred with swollen glands and lymph nodes. Although tests revealed no unequivocal evidence of malignancy, a full-body CT scan did identify a bladder tumour and a brain aneurysm. Mr. Al-Alami said he had discussed these findings with Mrs. Warmby, and she indicated that her husband, who had vascular dementia, did not want invasive treatment because of his age and frailty. However, Ms. Al-Alami admitted he had failed to properly record these conversations. I recognise that I did not document all of the conversations, he told the court. He described the mistake as devastating, adding, "I wanted to keep him from suffering, and I can only apologise for being part of the process." Mr. Al-Alami said Mr. Warmby should have been recalled for a follow-up appointment 3 months later, where he would likely have been informed of his cancer diagnosis, but a receptionist failed to add his name to the outpatient list. The error meant Mr. Warmby was never seen again by the department. The receptionist, a retired bank worker, was temporarily brought in to ease a staff shortage and made multiple mistakes before St Mary's ceased using her court heard. Staff tried to track down the lost patients and rebook them, but Mr. Warmby slipped through the cracks. The NHS offered its sincere apologies for the administrative failings, and the hospital has since updated its systems to prevent similar oversights. When Mr. Warmby suffered a fall in May 2019 and was admitted back to St Mary's, scans revealed advanced bladder cancer and a pulmonary embolism. He was deemed too frail for surgery and was given palliative care. Expert witness Dr. Christopher Eden, consultant and professor of urology, said the standard of care had been below that of an ordinary competent doctor. He said if Mr. Warmby had been referred to urology by Mr. Al-Alami, or the following up appointment had happened, his prognosis would have been better. He could have been potentially cured, or at least been made more comfortable in his final days, and may have survived longer. By 2019, Dr. Eden said, the cancer had become lethal. In a statement, Mr. Warmby's widow said she met her husband at a dance in 1957 and married him in 1960. The couple never had children and moved to Godshill in 1996 after Mr. Warmby, a long-distance lorry driver, was made redundant. "I miss him every moment of every day," she wrote. Mrs. Warmby has since brought a claim against the hospital. Summing up, Coroner Summary said, "Lots of people should have done better." Mrs. Summary recorded a conclusion that Mr. Warmby died from natural causes contributed to by neglect.
Life sentence for kids whose parents go to prison. When April Jeffers was just 15, her world changed overnight. Her mum was sent to prison, leaving April to navigate teenage life with a burden few can imagine. This week, on Tuesday, it was the first National Child with a Parent in Prison Day, a new national day of recognition and action. And she went to London to attend the inaugural Hear Me, See Me Parental Imprisonment Lived Experience Conference, bringing together young people, families, and professionals. April, now 38, said, "Nobody talks about what happens to a child when a parent goes to jail. You are left with shame and anxiety." April's story is not unique, but it is rarely heard. "I was just about to sit my exams. I presumed this is where support services would step in, but nobody came to support us. It was in the local newspaper. Our address, Mom of 3 goes to prison. Her name. It was a really tough time for us. These children should be supported. It's not okay for a 15-year-old not to have a parent there and to be punished for what their parent has done. These children need support. There needs to be more in place for children so they don't live throughout their adult lives carrying this trauma." On the island, home to HMP Allowite, one of the UK's largest prisons, awareness still remains low. That's why April is now hoping this new National Day will shine a light on the hidden impact of imprisonment on children and families. Her mission is simple: to try to make the island more understanding, more supportive, and less judgmental. Research shows that children or prisoners are twice as likely to experience mental health issues and face a stigma that can last a lifetime. April wants to change that narrative and agreed to be in a video to talk about her experience. She hopes to break the silence, talk openly, and support young people before they fall through the cracks. April believes the Alawite has a unique responsibility. We have a huge prison here, yet most islanders never think about what happens for families. Although she can't change what happened to her, April says she hopes the next child does not feel alone. April video is available at the County Press.
Bus driver earns major award for vital service. Southern Vectors has celebrated one of its own after a bus driver achieved national recognition for his exceptional service to the Isle of Wight community. John Berry from Cowes stood out among nominees worldwide for his dedication as a volunteer driver, receiving the prestigious Community Award at the Go Ahead Group's inaugural Gold Awards. John drives the community bus, a vital lifeline for rural Ireland's residents. "I get an immense sense of fulfilment knowing I'm providing such an essential service to local people," said John. "Over the years, I've seen how many passengers rely on these services Without them, many would feel increasingly isolated. Driving regularly means I've become a familiar face. People wave, even if we've never spoken. The community bus, operated in partnership with Southern Baptists and volunteers, ensures access to shops, appointments and social activities for those living in remote areas. Southern Baptist Managing Director Ben Murray said, "This is a well-deserved acknowledgement of the work John carries out day after day. The award also reflects our aim at Southern Baptist to ensure buses are accessible to as many people as possible."
Island Lifeboat Station replacement approved. A lifeboat station deemed no longer fit for purpose will be replaced with a new building to continue its life-saving service. Sandown and Shanklin Independent Lifeboat has been granted planning permission to demolish its current station on Sandown's western esplanade. Operated by volunteers, the island charity has served the Isle of Wight coast for decades. A new and resilient two-story station will be built in its place. Sandown Town Council supported the application and said the station will improve maritime safety as well as emergency response capabilities. County Hall's decision report on proposal said the replacement building would be a visual improvement and a great community benefit. It said the building would be set against the backdrop of the cliff and would be in close proximity to other two-story structures, and as such, officers are satisfied that the building would not appear obtrusive or out of keeping within the seascape.
Woman dies after falling from cliff onto seafront. Tributes have been paid to a woman in her late 50s who died after falling from a cliff onto the busy seafront. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary was called shortly after 9 a.m. last Thursday morning, November the 20th. Police received reports of a concern for welfare incident on the promenade at Sandown Seafront. Officers and paramedics rushed to the scene, and parts of the revetment and the cliff top above at Battery Gardens were cordoned off. The incident happened next to Finn's Beach Cafe. Posting on Facebook, the cafe announced it would be closed the following day, Friday, November the 21st. If anyone there is struggling, our doors are always open for coffee, for comfort, for conversation, the cafe said. A police spokesman said, "We were called at 9:08 a.m. Thursday the 20th of November to reports that a woman in her late 50s had been found on the promenade of Sandown Seafront. We attended along with our colleagues from Isle of Wight Ambulance Service, who confirmed that the woman had died. Her next of kin have been informed. A file will be prepared for the coroner in relation to the woman's unexpected death. Flowers have been placed at the scene in tribute. If you need help, the Samaritans can be contacted 24/7 on 116 123 or at samaritans.org.
New court date set for a case of collapsed wall. A key road in Ventnor closed more than 2 years ago following the collapse of a private wall is expected to remain shut into the new year as a legal battle rumbles on. A new mainland court date has been set for the case involving the Isle of Wight Council over the ownership of the private wall on Bowes Road. The crucial link between Ventnor Esplanade and the top of the town has been shut since October 2023 after heavy rainfall caused the wall to collapse, burying the road beneath rubble. To date, the council has resisted calls to reopen the road until ownership is legally established, despite residents taking part in a cleanup. The council said it is still concerned about the structural integrity of the wall. A spokesperson previously said that it remains the responsibility of the private landowner to carry out the necessary repairs. A court hearing was set for the 25th of September. However, the case was vacated due to the magistrate running out of time. In a recent statement, the council said, "Once ownership is legally established, we will begin repairs and work to reopen the road as soon as possible. Given the further delays in the legal process, we will continue to see whether there are any temporary measures that can be implemented in an effort to safely reopen the road." A new court date has been set for the 28th of January 2026 at Worthing Magistrates Court.
Good news about road closure. A controversial road closure in Bembridge has been postponed until 2026 after an outcry from local residents, the parish council and the MP. Southern Water confirmed to the county press that the works won't happen this year after all. Embankment Road was set to close for 3 weeks from December the 1st to the 21st for sewer works, while SGN begins a 4-month gas main replacement programme on Hillway Road, Peacock Road and Sandown Road, the other main route into the village. Those works run until March the 27th. Southern Water has described the sewer works as vital to prevent flooding in local homes, while SGN said its gas works are essential for safety. Isle of Wight East MP Joe Robertson has blasted Southern Water for its very bad timing, as businesses feared a crippling blow to Christmas trade, and Bembridge Parish Council warned the timing could devastate high street trade. Residents and visitors will now be able to access the village via Embankment Road until further notice. A spokesman for Southern Water said they had listened to concerns and delayed the closure. New dates will be announced.
Esplanade arrest for a woman. A woman has been arrested following reports of criminal damage and disorder on Ryde Esplanade. Police say the 34-year-old woman of Ventnor allegedly entered Rocket Ronnie's between 4 p.m. and 4:30 p.m. on Tuesday, the 18th of November, and caused trouble, where she made threats towards a female member of the public. She then reportedly left the venue and damaged a vehicle outside, an act understood to have been witnessed by 2 men. Shortly afterwards, the same woman is said to have gone to the Veteran Pub, also on the Esplanade, where she allegedly argued with a member of the public before smashing a glass outside. The woman was arrested on suspicion of causing criminal damage to property under £500 and assaulted a police officer in the execution of duty. The suspect has been bailed with conditions until Wednesday, the 18th of February next year, while enquiries continue. Police are appealing for witnesses, particularly the 2 men who have seen the vehicle damaged outside Rocket Ronnie's. Officers are also asking for any CCTV, dashcam, mobile phone or doorbell footage. Anyone with information should call 101 regarding this incident.
Prisoner assaults 3 officers. The Ministry of Justice, MOJ, has labelled attacks on its staff cowardly and unacceptable after a prisoner allegedly assaulted officers at the island's prison. 3 members of staff were injured following a stabbing incident last Thursday, November the 20th. 2 were taken to St Mary's Hospital and were discharged the same day. Of those hurt, a 32-year-old man suffered injuries to his face, police said. A spokesman for the MOJ said, "Attacks on our staff are cowardly and unacceptable, which is why we push for the strongest possible punishments." Police are investigating an incident at HMP Isle of Wight, and it would be inappropriate to comment further at this time. Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary confirmed an investigation is underway to establish the circumstances of the incident.
Footballer banned from pub over stalking offence. A footballer has avoided an immediate prison sentence but has been banned from a Cavs pub until 2030 after stalking a woman. Josh Uni, 34, of Harding Road in Ryde, appeared before Portsmouth Magistrates Court for sentencing on the 20th of November. He had previously admitted a charge of stalking without fear, alarm or distress at an earlier hearing on the 28th of August. The court was told that between the 19th of January and 13th of February this year, Uni pursued a course of conduct that amounted to stalking his victim. Uni is a former Newport and Bradingtown footballer who represented the Isle of Wight at the Island Games in 2015 and 2023. In April, Hampshire and Isle of Wight Constabulary issued an urgent appeal to help locate Uni. At the time, a spokesperson warned that if anyone found harboring him, to deliberately obstruct attempts to locate him may be arrested themselves. Uni has a history of similar offending, as he was given a community order and restraining order in 2020 after admitting harassment and theft involving a former partner. Uni was handed an 8-week prison term, suspended for 12 months. He is subject to a 5-year restraining order and has been banned from the Union Inn pub until November 2030.
Humiliated woman wins cafe discrimination case. A cafe has been ordered to pay thousands of pounds after it was found to have humiliated and discriminated against a woman in a wheelchair. Tracy Jones from St Helens said she was left mortified and embarrassed after being told she could not sit outside off the rails Yarmouth in case she falls off the platform. In September 2023, Tracy and her husband Gareth were out walking when they stopped at the converted train station for a coffee. They asked a waitress whether an outside table was free, only to be told, "No wheelchairs are allowed on the platform," Tracy said. They went inside to talk to a manager and said they were told it was in case you fall off. Tracy explained that she was perfectly in control of her wheelchair, even demonstrated the brakes. She said a man was really dismissive, speaking to her like a naughty child and talking over her as if I was a piece of dirt. She said he blamed a council decision for the policy of no wheelchairs on the platform. "I was really upset by that time, and most people in the restaurant had stopped and were turning around to see what was going on," Tracy said. Feeling embarrassed, they left, but Tracy felt what happened was not right. She contacted the Isle of Wight Council, and in emails seen by the county press, the local authority confirmed it had not issued such guidance. She reached out to the cafe for an apology and was sent an email from legal firm Island Advocacy acting on behalf of Roger Hewins, one of the cafe's co-founders. The email disputed that the cafe had this policy in place for her wheelchair users. Tracy said she had no intention of going as far as court, but after receiving a letter and no apology, she sought her own legal advice and later offered mediation. After numerous exchanges between solicitors, the case eventually went to court in March. On September the 9th at the Isle of Wight County Court, Off the Rails was found in breach of the Equality Act 2010. Deputy District Judge Kelly offered the cafe to pay compensation and costs totalling £13,738. Tracy said, "Winning the case isn't about getting compensation. It's really about making other businesses aware that accessibility isn't just a nice option." In 2014, an 84-year-old man in a wheelchair and with significant health issues died after rolling off the cafe's platform. At the time, then coroner John Matthews said he was concerned it was an accident which was inevitably going to reoccur. Off the Rails failed to respond to requests for comment.
White memories and nostalgia. A day on the development. Many islanders have heard the name Captiva Homes, but what do people actually know about the company? To find out more, the county press visited one of its developments, Lily Cross Farm in God's Hill, for a behind-the-scenes look. Captiva is a big Isle of Wight firm employing a huge number of island residents, both full-time staff and subcontractors, to build homes primarily for islanders. A proportion are affordable and many go to first-time buyers thanks to a range of available schemes. The company is proud to say that over 80% of reservations come from island residents. Captiva's head of customer care, Yvonne Barnes, lives on the 106 home Lily Cross site herself and looks after buyers after they have completed on their houses. She said many family members of staff have also chosen to live on Captiva Homes developments. Captiva says Lily Cross is now 80% sold and many of their homes are going to go to first-time buyers. For Callum East, sales advisor, helping islanders get on the property ladder is a wonderful feeling. He said, "When I first bought my house, I grew up thinking I would never be able to do it. From my job in sales, that's a wonderful thing to see. Hardworking folks who are first-time buyers. Among the schemes are rent to buy, shared ownership, and discount market sale. Investing in young islanders to teach them skills and set them up for the workforce is another of Captiva's goals. The company recently launched its new apprenticeship drive, Captiva Academy. Captiva Homes has taken on 5 apprentices, including Bailey in carpentry, who mostly works on the Acorn Farm development on Horsebridge Hill alongside completing her qualification as an Isle of Wight College. Since working at Captiva Homes, she said she likes the properties so much she has thought about one day moving into one herself. The company also offers experience for college students and including the apprentices, has expanded its team to keep up with the business activity. James Cleary, head of construction, said he was coming through. Opportunities for work experience were limited. He said, learning in a classroom and doing it on site with the way property comes together is different. For someone to be able to say on their CV they had a week's worth of work experience and come in to do a good job, it might give them the edge to get a job. James said that they have young people for work experience. The workers on site love to pass their knowledge. Kane Cowie and Alice Cannell, two of the newer members of the team, spoke about the community feel of working on a Captiva development. Ben Williams, site manager at Lily Cross, said, I have enjoyed the culture and enjoyed rekindling relationships with people I had worked with a long time ago. It's a hard thing to get into. I was a bricklaying apprentice, and my development into this role was completely by chance. The opportunities were there when I was at college. Captiva Homes has been attending careers fairs to make young people aware of the opportunities and have even engaged with younger people at Honey Hill Primary School, building them an outside play area. Next year, the company will take in a new cohort of apprentices. As for developments, Captiva has plans to build more homes at the rear of its existing West Acre Park development in Ryde and has secured planning permission for a 130 home development off Mill Road in Bembridge. It has also a housing site in Rookley named Highwood Grove. Meanwhile, some homes on the Lily Cross development are currently for sale via the Wright State Agency, including a 4-bedroom and 2-bathroom detached property.
Bus firm celebrates parent company getting gong. Bus operator Southern Vectors is celebrating after the parent company, Go South Coast, was named Large Bus Operator of the Year at the Route 1 Awards. Ben Murray, Managing Director of the Go South Coast, said, "This is fantastic recognition for the entire Go South Coast team, and not least of all my colleagues at Southern Vectors. We have been working incredibly hard to make travel with us an even more attractive option and to encourage local people to leave their cars at home and take the bus instead." He praised the company's relationship with the Isle of Wight Council, which led to a successful joint bid for government funding through the Zero Emission Bus Regional Area Scheme. The funding will support the introduction of a new fleet of electric buses for early 2026. Mr. Murray said, "I'm delighted judges at the Route 1 Awards have recognised our efforts. I'd like to congratulate everyone at Southern Vectors and thank them for everything they have done to establish us as the UK's very best." Tributes were paid to former Go South Coast Managing Director Andrew Wickham, who died in May and was posthumously awarded a special award.
When Carisbrooke was buzzing. Let's face it, Carisbrooke is not what it used to be. It's got a nice castle, but that's about it really. Once upon a time, people used to visit Carisbrooke in droves to admire the village itself. Transport was easy in the days before cars took over, and following the opening of the Newport to Freshwater railway line in 1888, visitors could catch a train from Newport and get off at Carisbrooke's very own station. True, it was a bit out of the way, in the middle of the fields. But in those days, people did not mind the walk to the village. By the 1920s, there was another way to get there. They could catch a bus from Newport. But today, well, despite the fact we've all got cars, the blunt truth is that we usually pass through Carisbrooke on the way to somewhere else. Would we visit it for its own sake? Not really. But it was not always so. Over 100 years ago, the village was a hive of activity. It had the railway station, 2 hotels, a pub, and 2 working grain mills, Kent's and Priory, both with picturesque mill ponds. There was trout fishing in the Lockley Brook, a nunnery, and the castle. A 1931 tourist guide said of Carisbrooke, "The village is as charming, clean-looking, and delightful situated as any in the island. Excursionists come in their thousands. Every other house bears the legend, tea parties accommodated." That was certainly true. Carisbrooke was no slouch when it came to having a brew-up. If you fainted and collapsed in Carisbrooke, in those days, you'd almost certainly hit a tea shop on the way down. Tea shops were so numerous, the rattle of bone china could be heard a mile away. Mrs. Fry provided teas, says one sign, while another just a few feet away announces tea gardens, plain tea 6 pence. In February 1903, tragedy struck. The county press reporting, Alfred Burt, the genial and esteemed host of the Eight Bells, was the victim of a bicycle accident outside his home in Carisbrooke High Street.
Deceased had just left his front door to go to the yard when he was knocked down by a bicycle ridden by an 11-year-old boy riding down through the village. He sustained severe injuries and was picked up bleeding and suffering from great shock and died the next day. Mr. Burt was a familiar island personality known far and wide, not only as the landlord of the Eight Bells, but as a veteran coach driver. This season recently finished with his 59th. He had driven over 500,000 miles. In a chat we once had with Mr. Burt, he told us that during his half-century of coaching, he had had 6 runaways, the most alarming of which was when his team bolted down the Union Street ride many years ago. With coolness and skill, he steered his team round the sharp corner into Pierce Street, and the runaways were shortly afterwards pulled up, no casualty having resulted. Mr. Burt commented, driving on leaving school, driving first an omnibus from Freshwater to Newport for some years. Then he was for some time coaching between Ryde and Newport. His principal route, however, was between Ventnor, Newport and Freshwater, and it was there, we believe, that he drove his last team. He was landlord of the Eight Bells for 38 years, and with exception of Frank Creeth of the Griffin Godshill, he was the oldest licence holder on the island. As a schoolboy at Carisbrooke Grammar School in the 60s, I can testify that the village played a significant part in scholarly life. In those days, for no lunch break was complete without an illicit stroll down Priory Lane to sample the forbidden delights of Carisbrooke High Street. First it was into the Top Shop on the corner of Carisbrooke High Street and Priory Road to buy a Woodbine cigarette, which they naughtily sold in singles to school children in those days. And this was followed by a trip to Stephen's Fish and Chips Emporium for a portion of chips. Armed with our meal, fit for a king, we would repair to the graveyard to enjoy our chips and fags, casually sprawling on one of the family vaults of Carisbrooke's dearly departed. We'll never go to heaven, will we?
Now, section 3, my view. from Matthew Chatfield, columnist, doing a sterling job of making politics uninteresting. Political discourse, high and low, has taken on an unwelcome affinity with entertainment. 30 years ago, Paul Bigala memorably quipped, "Politics is show business for the ugly." The rise of social media and the inexorable ratchet of the news cycle have given new weight to his wit. Today, when a former stand-up comedian meets a former reality TV star in the Oval Office, the world pays attention. I will admit to disappointment in the performance of our current government. I mean, hating on the farmers seems like a very weird first act. Plans this autumn, since dropped, to weaken planning restriction on national parks, seemed even more bizarre. You would expect an age greenie like me to moan about those. But one thing I cannot fault. Keir Starmer is his level of dreariness. The man, and indeed his whole government, is doing a sterling job of making the business of governing uninteresting and unnewsworthy. This is not just a nice thing, and I seriously believe an essential thing. There is a problem with democracy when it is combined with online communication. We vote for interesting people more readily than we vote for competent people. This works its way right down to ultra-local politics here on the island. Live through the last few editions of this paper, you'll see a councillor called a fascist pig. In another local council, a councillor described her own authority as somewhere that bullying and toxic culture is dressed up as free speech. Earlier this year, a third island council was in such a powerless state that walkouts, sackings, and accusations of a toxic, unworkable environment followed the chair of the council writing to the press to complain about what he called illegal anarchy in his own authority. These are examples of politicians grabbing the headlines for all the wrong reasons. I'll wager plenty of local people read these stories on social media, where indeed most of the protagonists continued their disputes long after the council meetings were over. Mudslinging and bad behavior gets clicks and makes for exciting headlines. Being a dull and worthy politician who just gets on with the job of governing does not prove rewarding. So, Sir Keir and his hapless crew, yes, I get it. They could do better, much better. But have we so readily forgotten they got elected in the first place? It was the stupendous, outrageous, unprecedented incompetence and corruption of the previous government that brought Labour into power in 2024. The recent glimpse back as Boris Johnson raged unapologetically against the inquiry he set up into the COVID response brought me back to earth with a bump. Vote for entertaining politicians if you must, or ugly ones. If that works for you, but whoever we have governing us, surely a dull person who means well is going to be better than a self-aggrandizing public figure whose only interest is in furthering their own importance.
Letters. Driving on the Isle of Wight would be safer with 40-mile limit. By Robert Drover from Freshwater. It was not without some trepidation that I attached this sign to the rear of my car and decided to drive within my self-imposed limit. My experience over just 3 weeks has been quite favourable, with only one driver showing any displeasure. Mostly those coming up behind have backed off and continued not to overtake or tailgate me, and those who did decide to pass me did so when it was reasonable to do so. Meanwhile, I have been able to proceed happily and enjoy an increase in my MPG. My belief is that driving on the Isle of Wight would be safer and more easily flowing with a limit in place, rather like the motorway system, when a limit is imposed when traffic was very heavy.
Huge increase. A letter from Paul Knocker of Bembridge. In an earlier letter, I raised the anticipated rise in our water bills and the role of Ofwat, the industry regulator. Now the bills have arrived, and ours show a 41% increase on the same period last year. It appears to have little to do with the amount of water used, as this has not changed much. Southern Water's explanation at a worrying time for the cost of living and increasing taxation is, we are excited that we are being given to the go-ahead for our biggest ever investment program to cover leaking pipes, storm overflows, and even to build new reservoirs. This exactly reflects the failure of Ofwat over a period of almost 40 years. They should have overseen a well-planned and consistent infrastructure investment strategy by the water companies, and we know that some have prioritized dividends and generous salaries for their executives. It is worth recording that over 70% of the shares in England's 9 privatized water companies are controlled by companies. Ofwat is just a small part of the Quango story. According to analysis by the Cabinet Office, there are now 302 arm's length bodies or Quangos in the UK. They employed 390,000 staff and cost about the same as the budget for their NHS. With no provision for the result of their failure to deliver, with energy security and costs at the top of this list of failures for British household businesses.
Radical Thinking by Angela Harris from Ryde. There was a copy of an article printed on November the 21st, 1997 in last week's paper, County Press 21st to the 11th, on page 56. It stated, schools slump in exam tables, putting the island 57th of the education authorities in the country. Today, 25 plus years later, the slump has continued on a downward spiral, and now the island is bottom or near bottom of those tables. What has gone wrong? Closing middle schools, or is it the brain drain, those that leave the island and don't return? I am told it's because they want a life. Complete opposite to that, retire to the island for the quiet life. Further education facilities won't bring the young ones back when they crave for fast, busy lives with high salaries. Island children need aspirations, things not available without the inconvenience of exchanging a slow ferry. Poverty. The island is one of the worst places in the country. Again, why? The next generation that leaves school can only hope that they have a job in the service or care industries. Nothing to aspire to there. Pubs used to be busy with young people, but nowadays it is the retired eating out. Hotels used to be the mainstay of a family holiday. Nowadays it's glamping, eco homes and country cottages. Tourism is also on a non-stop spiral downhill over the last 5 years. It's not just the cost, but the barriers that the ferries put on the movement that has caused this situation, causing the brain drain, poverty and lack of tourism. Ferries can never provide a resilient form of transport. There are too many interfering issues, from weather to maintenance and technology to labour, etc. The status quo is not working there here. Even the council has had the damning Penn report on how they are failing us islanders. The island needs some major radical thinking and action now.
Fraudsters first, voters last. A letter from John Brayford, Newport. Oh, what a circus, oh, what a show, the Westminster's bubble in town. Apologies to Tim Rice and Andrew Lloyd Webber for those lines. Yes, folks, it's official. The ruling by the Information Commissioner's Office is a privacy of ministers who are convicted fraudsters is paramount over the rights of us, the electorate, who pay their salary. Bear this in mind the next time they award themselves a huge pay rise. We must ensure we attract the right people to Westminster. Have hollow that statement that relates to Louise Haigh, Transport Minister, convicted of fraud. Has anyone spotted our leader normally wears very expensive clothes and spectacles? Perhaps non-dom status is in the offing as he spends most of his time globe-trotting.
Golf Club's Good Samaritans by Marilyn James from Cowes. We enjoyed a favourite walk last week over the downs from Godshill to Ventnor. The weather wasn't in our favour, but the views were still great. We stopped to admire the view from Ventnor Golf Club, and one of our party lost his footing and slipped on the mud. Within seconds, a gentleman appeared on what was now a horrible wet day and helped our injured friend into the clubhouse. We were all welcomed, offered drinks, and then one kind gent named Tony, offered to take us back to Godshill. We were so relieved we accepted this gesture. We later discovered our injured friend had fractured his ankle and could easily have incurred more damage walking. How fortunate we were to stumble, excuse the pun, on this wonderful bunch of people. Good Samaritans indeed. Thank you, Ventnor Golf Club.
Common sense prevails at last. A letter from Marianne Rumens of Bembridge. A huge thank you to our delightful MP, Joe Robertson, and everyone for opposing the closure of Embankment Road during our festive season for Christmas. This is a great relief to many of our small businesses in Bembridge and to us, the people who reside here. The work apparently will take place next year by Southern Water to sort out the sewage problems. At last, common sense prevails. Happy Christmas, everyone.
Ireland's Jewel by Francis O'Callaghan from East Cowes. I have found the jewel of the Isle of Wight. We call it St Mary's Hospital. I have just had a hip replacement. I was cared for in Luckham Ward. From the cleaners to the surgeon himself. What a great team from start to finish. The food was enjoyable. Thank you all. The parking charges are shocking, but you can't have everything. Keep shining bright, all at St Mary's Hospital. My jewel.
Finally, looking forward to new bus stop. I am still awaiting a new bus stop at Short Lane. When I phoned, I was told all was in hand. Letter from Mr. T. Fisher of Limestone. As I have a pacemaker, I do not wish to pass a stop, then walk back. This has been over a month now. What does it mean to be all in hand? On a priority list? I look forward for the new bus stop, The old one was there at least 30 years. Please listen. Do not put me on hold. I'm still waiting.
Goodbye from Mary.
Goodbye from Gerard.
The BBC In Touch programme follows, and the scaffolding news follows that.
Hello. Today we're hearing from the people who often stand quietly behind the story of poor or no sight, the parents. But what's it like in 2025 to bring up a child who's blind or visually impaired? How easy is it to find the right support, information, and perhaps most importantly, the right understanding? Not just from professionals, but from family members, schools, society in general. Well, we'll be hearing in this programme from parents navigating those very questions. Blatchington Court Trust is a local charity in East Sussex, providing support to visually impaired children and young adults. They recently held a parents and professionals conference. Fern Lulham was there for us to find out more.
The biggest thing is she's a brailleist. Oh, we don't do braille. That's what all the schools just keep saying to me. No, we don't do braille.
What does it mean to be the parent or carer of a child with a visual impairment?
I overfuss, and I think that's something that all parents with a child with a health condition of any kind is guilty of, really.
Being a solo parent the whole time has been challenging because I'm the only one who's got to talk about it at the end of the day, you know. I lost myself a lot.
As a parent, interacting and meeting other people who are visually impaired has been absolutely mind-blowing.
As someone who has always wondered about the idea of becoming a mother, and somebody who has a congenital sight condition myself that I might pass on, this has always been a subject very close to my heart. So I went along to Blatchington Court Trust's Parents and Professionals Conference, a day of education, exhibits, speakers and socialising to find out firsthand about the struggles, successes, hopes and fears of those who have a low vision little one that they love.
My name's Laura. My son is fairly new to sight loss, but you just carry on, don't you? So I think it was shock and just sort of over mollycoddling.
Do you feel like there's enough support for you?
That, I think, as a parent, feels slightly sort of selfish expecting support, but it is a small charity that helps so much.
And, you know, you said it's sort of selfish expecting you to get support as a parent, but of course we know that visual impairment impacts everyone in the family. And I just wonder, what has it been like for you as a parent watching your son go through this?
Probably I'm known as quite a pushy mother.
No, surely not.
Really. And I personally felt helpless. I remember a teacher who said, bring him in and we can see how blind he is, basically. And I was appalled at that. It was the first sort of, wow, what a thing to say. The hospital that was treating my son at the time, they had a head of education. She came down, held a meeting and put them all straight. So that was great.
Of course, one thing that many parents have concerns around is their child's education. And so in the morning, there was a session presented by Emma Thompson, a solicitor, not the actress, about education, health and care plans, or EHCPs.
You are the parent, you are the one that has all the rights through this process. What you get out of it is provision and the support for your young children, young people and adults. Thank you.
After the session, I chatted to Emma about what EHCPs are and how they work.
So it's the legal mechanism by which you get funded support or the provision of support from local authorities. So local authorities have a duty under the Children and Families Act to provide what is written into an EHC plan, which is obviously why it's vitally important that children and young people with visual impairments do go through this process. The support that we often see can be anything around one-to-one teaching assistant support, particular equipment. It could be that they need their worksheets formatted in a particular way. The great thing about EHC plans is they're quite endless in terms of the breadth of what they can cover, and the important thing is that they can cover basically everything that a child or young person needs to diminish those barriers that they have to their learning.
I mean, I remember when I was at school, I had what was then called a statement, which is now the EHCP plan. And I think it was something like 21 hours of one-to-one support. Has that sort of changed over time? Is that more sometimes put on teachers these days?
I think there is always a degree of fundamentally you remain having one-to-one support if required. From a legal perspective, we would still like to see EHCPs with clearly defined hours, clearly defined language. I've seen certain wording in an EHCP be interpreted by a school differently, a local authority differently, a parent differently. And all that does is just muddy the water. There are mechanisms in place through the law for challenges to be made. Parents have the appeal process rights. And I think for us, it's really about empowering parents to understand that they need to go back to the local authorities and say, you know, I'm not happy for X and Y reason. You need to get this right, because at the heart of this is children, young people with significant needs. So it's our job to make sure it does get right.
And in your experience, are parents often successful when navigating these kind of challenges and decisions?
Yes, the stats alone show that parents are successful when they do challenge. Even when you feel stuck, there is always going to be a way through those trees. It's just about being supported to find that way sometimes, because there's so many organisations, solicitors out there who will help you navigate the stuck. If you don't feel something is right, either challenge it yourself or get support to challenge it. I would say to any parent in this, stick at it. It can be demoralising at times. You can feel like you want to just chuck it all away, but don't. It has so much benefit at the end of it.
I'm Fiona, I'm Family Support Coordinator at Blatchington Court Trust. We bought our Empathy Eyes kit today and we're just giving some of our parents a bit of a try and see what they think.
These are electronic simulation specs, so when you look through them you can see different eye conditions that help people understand what it might be like if you're experiencing that for yourself. Ben, you're up. You're in the hot seat.
I have a 3-year-old son who was diagnosed at 2.5 years old with very, very poor visibility and no peripheral vision. So this here will give me an idea of, hopefully, what he can see.
And what was that like when he got diagnosed for you?
It was crushing. The world fell apart. It's been life-changing as a family, and it's very, very difficult.
Okay, let's give it a go then.
Thank you very much.
It's got a little adjustable screw on the back. So if you just look straight ahead, and we're just going to press the button on the top there. So we're going to try 360.
Okay.
So if you just close your eyes for a second.
Closed.
And then open your eyes.
Wow.
We'll come back to Ben in a bit. So, we'd covered education, but what about just having fun?
Oh, lots of hands up. So, Karen, you did get there first.
Tiffany Woods from Victor, a charity who support visually impaired children and young people, presented a session about Victor's initiatives around skill building, confidence and connection.
So Victor are an activity-based charity that support children, young people and their families aged from 0 to 29, and we sit very much in that extracurricular space where a young person can say, last weekend I went indoor skydiving and I'm VI. For those jobs, those clubs, those placements, those things that young people would like to go on to do, you need those skills such as confidence. You need to be able to push yourself out of your comfort zone, and combating isolation with developing communities with like-minded individuals, increases your advocacy. It's just all those soft skills we like to develop whilst doing something fun, and you might not even know you're developing them.
And of course, some parents will be reluctant to let their visually impaired child, go and do something that they might see as dangerous or risky. What would you say to those parents?
I would say, give it a try. It is super scary. I know that, I've had parents tell me that, but wrapping up your child in cotton wool may not be what they want, it may not be what you want. It's wonderful to see a smile on a young person's face when they arrive at an activity thinking they can't do something and then they do succeed. And particularly those young people that maybe struggle with their self-care, that independence, for them to have those small wins at the end of the week is just fantastic.
A big focus at the conference was getting parents and families to meet, mingle, have a chat and share their stories.
My name's Michaela. My son has just turned 3. His name's Brody, and he has got retinitis pigmentosa that has caused him to have very, very low vision from what we can only assume was fully sighted up until December last year to being registered blind come April this year.
You're quite early on in the journey.
Yeah.
What was the diagnosis like, and what support do you feel that perhaps he'll need going forward?
It was quite long, if I'm honest. It was 4 months from him being admitted to hospital to actually getting the diagnosis as to what it is. He's going to need a lot of help with regards to starting school. He's only just turned 3, so actually having somebody come and see us and explain to us what happens next, what's it's going to look like, has actually been very slow and almost non-existent, if I'm honest.
So mine actually is quite different. My name's Anne, my daughter is Bella. I can't fault the support we've had, weirdly, and I don't know if that's an area thing maybe. When Bella was diagnosed, very quickly this team of people got sent to her at school, came to the house to meet us, told she needed to learn Braille. She has a huge input from Sensory Needs Service and the charities, and she is unstoppable. But on the flip side, school has been so incredibly hard. But then I speak to other parents and it's like, oh yeah, we get this and this and this. So a bit of time and effort and trust, it can work.
And do you feel like events like today are helpful in terms of making you feel that there is support out there are services that you can reach out to?
Today has just been phenomenal, and I think just for us as parents, being able to talk to other parents who are in the same boat as you, or people like yourself, Anne, who are in the same position as my child, if we don't all talk and share our experiences, we don't learn from each other. It's very positive.
Because Brody's so young, maybe that's why we've been struggling to find support, because all of the charities that are out there are all sort of for 5 and over, but actually coming here, seeing that when he gets a bit older there's going to be plenty of support there. We don't know anybody in our home life that is visually impaired, so to actually come and see people and talk to people and hear what they do with their lives, it has been amazing.
It makes you feel less isolated.
Absolutely.
By being together. Unless you've been in that VI world, I don't think anybody understands it fully.
I agree.
Of course, it's not just parents who are affected, and as I was talking to her mum, I also wanted to include Erin, a fully sighted teenage big sister to her younger, visually impaired sibling, Bella.
So you think you're going to have the sister that you can do everything with, but it very quickly turns into not that. I've been at uni for 4 years, so I kind of isolated myself from the whole situation, to be honest, and moving home recently, it's definitely been a reality check, I guess.
I think it's hard for siblings. I know she gets angry because Bella takes up all my time, and it's frustrating, and as much as I try and say, but it's not that she's my favourite child, as Erin always tells me, it's actually that I care for Bella because she's got other needs, it's not just VI. I think for siblings it's so hard.
Do you agree with that, Erin?
Yeah. Yeah.
What is that like?
I don't know, I mean, there's not a lot of people that go through the same thing, so...
None of Erin's friends know anybody, I guess, with a visual impairment. So
no one understands what you're going through. I think I had to be a lot more independent a lot more earlier on than maybe some people would have, and not because of my mum's fault. She obviously had a lot going on, but I think that made it harder on me and maybe more lonelier for me as well.
Do you think you grieved things that your sister couldn't do that you could do?
Yeah.
She loves her sister and she's an incredible sister, but she's angry. She's angry at her sister. And although she knows the reality of it, sometimes I almost think she regresses because she fights for my attention. And then there's this at home.
And just finally, Erin, what are your hopes and fears for the future of your relationship with your sister? What would you want to see going forward?
I mean, we're growing our relationship every day, I guess. It's definitely not at the place that I would want it to be. We have definitely grown apart, so I definitely want to grow our relationship a lot further and for us to be more independent and not for her to always rely on mum. I want to be that person as well as mum for her.
Towards the end, I caught up with Blatchington's CEO Bernadette Dawes to find out what had inspired the conference and how she felt it had turned out.
Oh, well, our parents are fearful for their children moving forward, so I'd like them to go away with the knowledge of seeing and hearing people who have been successful and achieved in their life, and that they're not alone in their journeys. Getting them all in a room together. Yes, to listen to some presentations and hear some stuff, but, you know, the loudest noise was definitely at lunch, where they were all chatting and meeting each other.
It seemed to me to be an event full of easy, flowing conversations and a few harder-hitting truths.
Just to have an idea of what severe retinitis pigmentosa might look like, if you just close your eyes for a second.
Okay.
And then open your eyes.
That's made me feel very uneasy. Makes me very sad.
Okay, would you like to take the headset off?
Yes, please. Yeah, that'd be lovely.
Okay.
Thank you. Wow. That is a big eye-opener, that, isn't it?
What was that like for you then?
Good to give me the opportunity of what potentially my son can see, but quite overwhelming at the same time to realise what vision he hasn't got. That must be hard work for him. Yeah, that's really hit me there. I'm not going to lie. That's very difficult.
What's going through your mind?
Just the challenges that he faces at such a young age. Obviously, at the minute, he knows no different. But me being spoilt in a sense of having full vision, you never think of the implications that other people have to go through. The challenges that they have daily.
Today, you know, with all the different things that have been going on, how has it left you feeling about his future?
Amazing. Absolutely brilliant. I can't take that away. With the trusts that are around us, he's got a bright future. There's a lot more support out there than people realise. And for anybody else that ever gets a diagnosis, chase, look up, follow, you won't necessarily get it handed to you on a plate, but just research, speak to people, and you will get the support you need. And the happiness. I've never met such a happy bunch of people in all my life.
And what are some of your hopes for your little boy's future?
He can be whatever he wants to be. He might not ever fly a plane and be a pilot, but there's other things we can do. You know, he can pretty much do anything he wants in life, and we'll do it. We'll do whatever he needs to do.
As a parent, you do everything you can, and when you're faced with something like this, it's like, well, I can't fix this. And that message to parents of you have to let them get on with their own thing, to sort of make their own mistakes and to find their way.
She plays VI cricket for the Sussex Sharks, and she's the only female in amongst all these men, but they are the kindest, nicest humans on the planet. She's done rock climbing, Paralympic sports. She wouldn't have those opportunities had she been a sighted person. So I think for her, actually, it's opened a whole new world of opportunity.
I know he's going to go out there. He's made over 300 drum and bass tracks already, and he's only 12. He plays the piano beautifully. He's never had lessons with piano, and he's creating some beautiful classical compositions that it just blows my mind. I can see a lot for him.
When you can talk to somebody that's lived what you're living, since then it's become a lot easier.
There is life after this. There's a future.
It wasn't until we watched a Harry Potter thing, and he went, "That's the way I see." The way his eyes went then, that's the way I see. And I was like, wow, you know, that's amazing.
That's magic.
Yeah, it's magic. Yeah, exactly.
Parents Laura, Anne, Ben and Sonia ending Fern Lulham's report. And that's it for today. We want to hear your reactions to anything you've heard in the programme. You can email in touch at bbc.co.uk or leave your voicemails on 0161 836 1338. From me, Peter White, and producer Fern Lulham, goodbye.
Scaffolding and skip news for week commencing the 28th of November 2025. Newport area, 1 to 8 Malthouse Court, Providence Corner Building, Pyle Street and Town Lane elevations, TUI Post Office Lane, 19 C Street, Grace Walk, 15 to 16 Key Street, 14B Chapel Street and 44 High Street.
Ride area: St Mary's Catholic Church, 55 High Street, Halves of Zebra, 12 Union Street, The Star Inn, High Street, Ride Opticians, 40 Union Street, Ex Barclays Bank, 7 High Street, 5 Wicks Road, Bembridge Sailing Club, Bembridge. Ride area skips: 5 Nelson Place, 59 High Street, Bembridge.
Cowes area: the Portland Inn, Worsley Road, Gurnard, 20 Bridge Road.
Ventnor area skips: Old Town Hall Court, Albert Street, 99 Pierce Street, Ventnor. Ventnor area skips: 16 Brookside Crescent.
Sandown area: 52 Fitzroy Street.
Yarmouth area: Old Town Hall, The Square.